In order for my treatment to work, I have to make sure I have compliance from my patients. Then you have to explain why you have to move this way and that way. Okay? So we're very unique, biologically speaking, we're very unique animals from every other animal on the planet, right? So if you look at me, compare me to another animal, there's nothing else that looks like this, right? Every single person on the planet has taught themselves to stand and walk. It's innate, right? So we're really standing animals in that sense. Everything about the human body is designed to be upright. And we need to be efficient in gravity. Gravity's your enemy. So is oxygen, by the way. But we need to be able to move efficiently in gravity if you're going to function like a normal human being, right? That said, you need to take a look at your posture. And what is normal posture?
Straight up.
No, we're not straight. We have gentle curves in the spine. You know, in the fetal, in the womb, we're in the fetal position, right? Like a shrimp. And then, so we have this main curve called kyphosis. As the baby comes out of the womb, it's pretty flat when you put it on its back. But as soon as the head comes up to look around, well, the weight of that head starts to weigh down the neck. Now you have this curve. That's called lordosis. So as soon as that baby's able to sit upright, stand up and walk, this starts to load. Now we have lordosis here. So we have a curve here in the spine, we know that. We have this curve that goes here. We have a curve in the upper back that goes here. We got a curve in the neck that goes like that. Everything is designed to load the torso, the neck over the 7 bones. I'm sorry, the head, which is on average, by the way, is 12 pounds. Yeah, it's a big brain in there. All right, and then you have 7 neck bones. There's a neat place in Orlando. It's time, okay. There's a neat place in Orlando called Skeletons. Have you guys been to the Eye of Orlando? It's a big Ferris wheel. The same guy that designed the Eye of London. It's really neat things, like 400 feet. You can get up there and see all of Orlando. Anyway, down at the bottom where there are shops, there's a place called Skeletons, and they have about 1,500 different species, full size, real skeletons, mind you. Giraffes, elephants, killer whales, right? And just like any other mammal, the giraffe has 7 neck bones. Think about that big.
Each one?
Each one. And your little shrew has 7 neck bones. We're classified as mammals, you know, for a number of different reasons. Like people that have studied biology and science, you know why we're called mammals. Right? Mammary glands, hair, ability to thermoregulate, all that stuff. All right. So the uniqueness of our biology dictates that we actually move normal. We have to define that in order to be able to be efficient as we get older, so that we don't have dysfunction, and then we die. Everybody dies of heart failure, obviously, right? So the question is, what is normal? Well, everybody's sitting right now. We're not sitting animals. You think of animals that sit, they have calluses on their rear ends. Yeah? Baboons. I have 4 dogs, they all have swirls on their bottoms, and their bottoms touch the floor. If I squat, I'm not really sitting on my butt, am I? All right, there are cultures that do this. I'm Filipino, we do this. We hang on to the sitting position to smoke a cigarette.
It's relaxed.
Well, it's just natural. You can say it's primitive, but what is primitive? There are a number of different constructs that we've invented over the millennia, all right? This idea of shoes. Eating 3 times a day, that's an idea, right? We invented that. Who told you that you have to eat 3 times a day? In fact, yeah, your mom, yeah. So what's the result? Put on weight. All right.
You should be proud of me today.
Yeah, you should sit. You should sit because we've invented activities in the sitting position. Think about that. If you do an experiment, okay, and Ken and Emmy have a nice backyard there. Just sit out there and just look without an agenda. You're not concentrating on anything. See how you feel after a little while. You're gonna feel uncomfortable. All right. Some of you guys are gonna start strolling around, and most of you are not really supporting yourselves properly because you're leaning. You have surrendered to gravity. Game over. All right, what's the implication of that? Well, there's always a constant change in our bodies, as with all living things. Things grow, things die. That process of cell death is called apoptosis. The brain says, or the human body says, we got a bunch of new guys that have just been formed over there, so we need to retire you today. So every second your nails grow, your hair grows, your cells grow, your connective tissue grows, right? So imagine, let's just talk about this word fascia, F-A-C-I-A. I believe it's a Latin term for unorganized. So So this connective tissue was poorly understood until recently. 400 years ago, they started doing human dissections. A gentleman by the name of Vesalius did that. But before him, it was a gentleman by the name of Galen. And Galen did exclusively animal dissections. The human body was not to be desecrated, because the church says, right, protect it.
Temple.
And then they compromised at some point. They said, okay, you can study the brain, but you can't study the heart, because it belongs to God. So our knowledge of anatomy was very limited and very crude. If you had a sharp instrument and just cut away the tissue, boy, you disrupt a lot of things, microscopically speaking, right? So we have 206 bones in the human body. We have 637 muscles, give or take, because we're still evolving, right? We're going to lose certain parts. The ones that are shrinking, that's going to be gone, all right? And there's a reason why, as you get older, your nose gets bigger, your ears get bigger. You need these senses to be more acute as you get older. Yeah, look at your pictures from your 20s, smaller noses, smaller ears. Look at it, all right? Look, and by the way, look at your posture back then. So this idea of, this concept of something developing every second requires our attention. We need to adapt to that, all right? We need to evolve with that. So fascial cells are, basically everything is made out of fascia. We have this running joke in medicine. It says, whatever the problem is, the answer is fascia, all right? So fascia, by its crude definition, is this connective tissue. Imagine, if you will, just bear with me. Take a piece of ribeye steak. Right? Now, before you cook it, the one that's got a lot of fat and bone and muscle, right? Sometimes you have the thigh shanks. You see all these compartments of muscles and connective tissue. Pull the fat away, try to separate the tissues, by the way, and you see this membrane. It looks like cotton candy. That's what we're made out of. But 400 years ago, that wasn't studied. Until about 15 years ago, literally,
Wow.
they formed the World Fascial Congress because they found that, hey, well, I imagine it went down this way. Vesalius was dissecting. He said, if I separate this muscle from here, from there, and I lift it off, we have a bicep. All right, we have the heart, we have the bone, we have the, so they're naming it based on the structure, and in the process, they've deconstructed the whole human body. It's no longer contiguous, right? Well, fascia doesn't have any form. It's like cotton candy. So you looked at this and you need that. All right? But they realize that that's what holds the human body together. You want to experiment and see how dense and strong this stuff is, go to the Publix and take a piece of meat and try to pull it apart with your bare hands. It's not going to come apart. That's how strong this stuff is. And if we're training it to be loose, you're going to be loose. If you're training it to be this long, you're going to look like this. Or you look like you're riding a recliner. So some of my patients look like this. My neck hurts. It's arthritis, my doctor says that. You look like you're a recliner jockey. Anyway, this is the part where I need to convince them that you're doing it to yourself. Okay? So we're not sitting animals. We can handle being on our feet for hours. We were just in Disney last week, walking for hours and hours and hours. Now, assuming that you have good posture and everything is well balanced, the name of the game, of course, is to resist gravity. Organize your weight over your feet. The act of standing is not a conscious activity. We stand. We gather all the information through the surroundings. I feel the pressure through my joints, my feet, and my brain says, "Oh, you're tilting too far to the forward and right. Come back to the middle." It's always pulling me to the middle because that's where I can balance efficiently. Now, if I did this, where did I tighten up now? Like that. All right. So if that's tight and my head goes forwards, what's going to happen to my neck eventually? It's going to hurt. So I do this. Did I make myself better? No, I just increased my dysfunction. Now I have to move in gravity like this. All right? So this forward head is very common now. It's not going to go away anytime soon. The problem is we have this, and we have those, and we have things that do. You know, we're not really moving as much as we think we should. And how should we move? Well, go back 40,000, 60,000 years ago. This is our version of anatomy as we know it. Our movements and our specific characteristics developed out of engaging and moving in the environment. So if I was a caveman living 40, 60,000 years ago, I get out of my cave. First thing I would do is what? Check out the environment. How are the strawberries today? Oh, I gotta go take a leak. All right. And then you look for the situational awareness. Are there wolves that are trying to eat me? Can I, where can I go to find food? It's always surviving, right? It's always, and because of looking for food to keep yourself alive, you move, inevitably move, right? So we did simple things like reaching for the low-hanging fruit. I probably climbed the tree. I probably squatted down and go to the bathroom. I probably walked on uneven surfaces. What I probably didn't do a lot of was sit. Yeah. No caveman books back in those days, right? So as a result, even to this day, if you look at the people that spend a lot of time in the upright position on 2 feet, they have pretty good posture. Not Americans. Americans, we have this love affair with, when I retire, I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm just gonna be close. I'm gonna go travel, right? So that's our idea of maintenance, 65 and then some. You go to Africa, you don't see this. Everybody's like this, all right? You look at pictures of Africans, not African Americans, Africans. They're like this. They walk all day long. They don't have Facebook. They don't have Netflix. All right? I'm sure they read, but for the most part, I would say 99% of those people are like this. Not to mention the fact that, hey, we need to get some drinking water. Why don't we walk to the next village, put it on your head? So there's awareness. There's loading of the spine that keeps your erectors awake. So when the pot comes down, guess what happens to your body? You've trained yourself to be here, and it becomes comfortable. Most of these people walk barefooted. So the concept of the shoe is something that we invented as well. All right? Okay, so let's take a short break here. Everybody stand up, just gonna reach up like this. All right, if you have any pain, please don't hurt your shoulder. So I want you to think, I call this a series of yawns. Reach up as high as you can. I want you to imagine a line of connective tissue from your pinky all the way to your ankle. Keep your feet down, right? And we're going to yawn through that side. You have to yawn because it expands the rib cage, right? So just gonna relax slowly. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is a controlled, aggressive stretch. Everybody knows how to yawn, right? But do you guys still yawn like this? Yeah, it's juvenile, right? I'm not a kid anymore. I shouldn't have to yawn. I've got another idea, another construct. So let's do the other side. Yawn through that side. Here. So we didn't do 20 stretches, but neither did cats and dogs, right? Cats and dogs, every time they get up, they stretch this way, they stretch that way, they shake their spine, they walk off. Repetition is another concept, of construct that we invented. It's ridiculous. Oh, you gotta do 3 sets of 10, you gotta not do 9 hours of yoga, you have to walk 5 kilometers, right? So basically you're stretched out for now. Now understand your body's creating the connective tissue cells anyway, all right? In fact, stay as long as you can in the upright position. Remind yourself how tall you really are. You're not straight. I'm 6 feet, I'm pretty proud of that because we're supposed to be this tall. So I'm 6 feet and I have my weight directly underneath my hips, my torso. I have my feet lined up with my lungs. And I don't stand on my toes, so I wiggle my toes. So if you wear a thick heel, it's gonna make you do this. Now you have to compensate. All right? You create dysfunctions because of the change in your posture in gravity. When you're flat on your back, who cares? You've surrendered to gravity. It's your time to let go. All right? Let's do that again. One stretch, yawn. This is the first thing I do in bed, and then yawn to the other side. Okay. So now you know you don't do that. Okay. Go ahead and see if you feel like you need to do that. Just go ahead and stretch out. All right. Now when we sit, again, now we have to organize our bodies over the weight bearing surface. We've taken away the feet in this case. So the primary weight bearing surface is going to be the buttocks. So what I would suggest you do is sit on the edge of your chair and balance your weight over your pelvis. Balance the head over the neck, over your torso, over your pelvis. Okay, you're gonna feel different muscles working here. We've taken out the legs. All right. By the way, excuse me, before I get ahead of myself, like I said, 400 years ago, they were doing very crude dissections. All right. Remember, everything's intact. You run a sharp object through that, it disrupts everything. So, if you try to imagine, after you dress a deer or a rabbit, you look at the muscles after you've taken the skin off. There's nothing that is non-continuous, if that's true. Everything's intact, right? You can't break it apart. You have to take a sharp object and go like this. This is why carnivores have sharp teeth. They can rip through the flesh. We can do that to some degree because we have it, right? So we're very unique again in that sense. Anyway, our knowledge of anatomy is very crude in the sense where we've taken apart every single structure in the body and gave it a name in order to learn it. But we've deconstructed it. So now, our understanding of how the human body works is not quite accurate as we think it should be. But if you think of, where's my favorite line? These are called anatomy trains, a concept developed by Thomas Myers, who was my mentor. I went to a seminar one day. Anybody familiar here with the taping that they use for the athletes? I'm actually certified in that. I'm certified to teach that. He went to the World Kinesia Taping Symposium. He was the key speaker. He says, I don't know what this stuff is, but they invited me to speak. And he says, think of all the anatomy that you've learned over the last 400 years. And he says, forget about that. I'm about to blow your mind, which I'm about to right now. Okay, this is a game changer. So if you think, oh, I gotta stretch my back, I gotta stretch my neck. Yeah, true. What about the rest of it that's attached to it? So this is called the superficial back line. The superficial back line is a line of connective tissue, a line of tension, if you will. So I want you to imagine guitar strings going up and down. So this, you can say that the line starts from the bottom of the foot, and I'll pass this around, okay? All the way to the forehead, or from the forehead down to the bottom of the foot. So we have this muscle. Everybody raise your eyebrows right now. That's called your frontalis muscle. That's a muscle, but it attaches to the scalp. Well, what is a scalp? That's not a muscle. It's a piece of, I call it a swim calf. That's where you're riddled with nerve endings. So if this tightens up and that tightens up, what do you get? You get a headache. That's where headaches come from your neck. They have different names for these things. Migraines, focal, something. So, oh, but the truth of that, that's where it comes from. Oh, it's not. It's coming from my brain now. Your brain can't hurt. It doesn't have nerves. Anybody think about that? Your brain can't hurt unless you have meningitis. Anyway, so this line starts from the forehead, becomes the scalp, which is not a muscle, but it connects to it. You can look at it and say, well, it grows into it. It becomes that part. But if you go to the back, it becomes this part. Now it splits into left and right. So now we go down the side. And if you look at the anatomy books, every single level where these muscles attach, they have a name for it. What? They have a name as it attaches. But it's really one long line of meat in the back strap, right? And then it comes down to the pelvis right about there. It still continues, becomes a tendon now. It's a thick tendon, right? This is why you can bend down and pick up heavy objects, because that tendon is so strong. And then it becomes hamstrings. It ties in with the calf muscles like this. This is all continuous, right? The only way you're going to break this is through a really sharp object, all the way down to the bottom of the foot. So potentially, if you had an ankle sprain, you could have neck problems. I want you to think about that. There was a neat documentary on this Olympic diver. She was a platform diver. Developed vertigo. Well, great. I got to be in the Olympics, but I can't spin in the air, you know. So she went to the doctors. They couldn't fix her vertigo. They were trying to fix her vertigo. So I think it was a chiropractor. I hope not. But somebody along the line. I think it was a rolfer. And looking at her history, they asked her, well, what kind of trauma did you have in the past? Because you're not standing up straight. What's wrong with this left side? She said, oh, I had an ankle sprain about 2 years ago. Okay. Anybody ever treat that? No. I didn't think it was a big deal. But I would imagine she looks something like this. So everything on the left side's tightened up. Guess what happens to the inner ear there? The structures get pulled and they become affected to some degree. She developed vertigo. So they treated that line, everything else in her body. Her vertigo went away. She became competitive again. Yeah, way down there to treat this. It's all connected, okay? So that's the superficial back line. I'll pass that around. So concept of anatomy, by the way, you're not going to see this on the internet because it's protected. But I'm sharing this with you now. Okay, this is called the superficial front line. And this line comes from back there. There's a line of connective tissue that becomes these muscles. And it goes down to the front of the torso, becomes your abs. And it stops right about there, the pubic bone. But it continues as a line of tension through the pelvis all the way down to the tops of the feet. So if you're sitting and you're shortening that line, all right, now I have shortness here, length here. I'm training my tissues to be short, as you all are doing right now. Right? So you go to stand up. Whoa, I feel tight. My back hurts because I have to do that. Your back is actually working very hard to bring you into the upright position in gravity. So that's the line that I tend to look at and go, your head is forwards, you're getting compressed down here, we need to open this up. But would you believe that these people come to the clinic, they say, I have neck pain and back pain. And these people go to the massage therapist and they get a massage for an hour. They leave there feeling exactly the same way as when they walked in. Now you gotta tip them 20%, right? I've done that, very frustrating. So my patients, I work on the front line, and I say, I'm just gonna touch the front so that everything opens up. When I get done with them off the table, standing like this. I said, okay, now I have to put the awareness of what neutral is, the word neutral. So I ask them, all right, how tall are you? I'm 5'6". All right, stand and walk like you're 5'6". In fact, matter of fact, sit down, be 5'6" at the torso. That helps. All right, we're not really supposed to shrink, folks. This idea of shrinking does not happen in Africa.
I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 5'10". Is that a disease? Aging is not a disease.
No.
Yeah.
The older you get, doesn't the body compress? No?
I mean,
because
you
of-
lose fluid in the
Well-
in the discs.
Well,
Doesn't that
whatever it
shorten you,
is,
though?
I mean.
Yeah, to a small degree though.
Yeah, but I see my father go from 5'7.5" to 5'5".
What was your father doing in the later part of his years though?
What do you know what he
Was he doing a lot of sitting?
Paint that, no, he's a paint.
Yeah. Well, he was
Well, I was
probably
curious,
he was probably very
people
tight.
shrink, I always thought the older people get shrink.
Go to Africa.
Well,
I'm telling you.
I always
Yeah,
thought-
this is our misconception that as we get older, we're supposed to have diseases, we're supposed to have cancer, we're supposed to look like this. But that's another construct that we see amongst ourselves because we do the same thing. You remove yourself from that environment, you go to Africa or some other country that they don't sit down. They don't look like that. They're elderly, are very productive, and so. I hate to break it to you.
No. No.
You want to do an experiment?
It's not age then, age is not.
Age is not a disease.
In other words, the older.
And by the way, we're the most diseased animals on the planet. Think about that.
Say again?
We are the most diseased animals on the planet.
Oh,
You don't see that in any other animal. It's kind of sad to me because the way we approach medicine is, oh, here's a problem, here's a drug. What is modern medicine these days? Drugs and surgery. All right? When really, in reality, 40, 60,000 years ago, we were staying healthy through movement and food. Correct movement and correct food. That's it. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, but we didn't live past the age.
No. They were digging up skeletons that they dated these people to be about 85. With full,
85, you said?
with full dentition.
Yeah, most of the increase in our lifespan has been to the lowering infant mortality and lowering childhood injuries and diseases.
Yeah. There are more diseases now than ever. You go back to the 1960s, 1 out of every 60 people had cancer. Now it's 1 out of every 3. You gotta ask some serious questions there.
What are we eating?
What are we eating? What are you exposed to? Yeah. So anyway, this is called the functional line. This is the front line. Oh, this is the functional line. Okay. So this goes crisscross this way. So if I have to pull something down like this, or have to lift something up like that, that's what we use. This is what you use when you do your yard work. Take out the trash. And look at this line. This is a pretty interesting line. You're never gonna see this in any anatomy book. What Tom did was he would start in an area where, he would start with a muscle, say in this case, the back at the base of the skull area. And he would follow that line of tension. And it would go into the next muscle as it attached to bone. All right? Right there. So on and so forth. So he found this line that actually rotated around the body like a ribbon. And that gives you stability in this direction. And we're not always up and down. Think of 3-dimension, moving in 3 dimensions, up and down, front to back, rotation. All right? So this is called the spiral line. And if you have a person that looks like this, and you're treating their back in an up and down fashion, they're not gonna get better. We address that, they go back to this. We can actually straighten bow-leggedness and knock knees. I've done that. And I can restore posture. So, I was saying earlier that if you wanna see if you're actually shrinking, tonight, before you go to bed, in your bare feet, like a kid, you measure your height. As soon as you wake up tomorrow, don't even go to the bathroom, measure your height again. You're gonna be an inch taller. Yeah. The spine decompresses. As the bones open up, the discs start to drink. They take in fluid, they start to rehydrate. But being in gravity compresses all of that. And now it's shorter again. All right? Okay, arm lines. This just suggests that, this is another one for the creationists. What is this line for? We have it. And matter of fact, all the animals that hang and dangle have the same line. So at some point we were doing this, right? We lived in the trees. We lived in the trees for a while, and then the food up the trees became scarce, and we started going down to the savannas. And that's where we had to invent weapons, because we had to fight that.
Became fast runners.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at cats and dogs, my dog's have a little Pomeranian, it's just like this.
The guy that cheated.
This, right? That's basically his heel and his foot. But they don't stand like that, they stand on their toes. For some reason, we've managed to put our heels down and extended our knees. That brings us this. So, if you haven't studied biology, it's just really fascinating because we're not unique in the sense that we're different from the other animals. We have shared similarities with all mammals, right? A lot more similarities with chimps and bonobos. So this is your arm line. I call it a dangling line. So if you there's a line here from the here to here. It goes about, let's say 40 degrees, 42 degrees. But it connects and becomes this long line of tension when I do this. Guess what? That's gonna hold my torso when I hang on something. There's a neat video on YouTube where they take this newborn,
Emmy.
all right? Minutes. Baby's eyes are closed. But wouldn't you know it, when we're born, we already have that grasp reflex, right? So the doctor takes the newborn, he goes like this, the baby grasps, right? The infant, right? Just moments after taking his first breath. And the doctor proceeds to lift it. You saw that? And it's dangling. Why are we doing it?
And then he loses, you lose that ability.
No, no. Certain things come and go. The grasp reflex is always there. All right. So why aren't we doing that? Because that's part of our movement. All right. So if I do this, you can imagine what tissues. Just do that for a second. I want you to feel that through your chest. All right. All the way up, like you're dangling off a bar. All right. Where do you feel it?
My forearm.
Through the forearm. Your neck, it gets tight. Okay, this is also diagnostic. When you go like this, you go my neck, my shoulder, my elbow, and you compare it to the other side. But compare it again to the other side, because you're just, in the act of diagnosing yourself, you just stretch. So it's really both. Now do the other side again. Oh, it's looser, isn't it? All right.
But people later say, whatever, let's questions in it.
But we're not, my point is here, is if you're doing this, guess what we're doing? We're maintaining that. Now, if you're not doing this and you're doing a lot more of this, look at that, change in posture. Pretty soon, those shoulder muscles become tight. I do this, oh, I've lost motion. And you give the doctor an excuse to look at your shoulder with an MRI. They'll say, oh, you have bone spurs and a slight turn in your rotator cuff. Let's operate. Great. I'm going to create scar tissue in there that's going to really keep you from moving. All right? So the patient says, well, do you have anything more conservative? I want to send you to therapy. And they come in like this, right? I have shoulder pain. In fact, I have pain in my neck. Well, let's fix that. You go like this. You have that. So it wasn't the tear. You're over 42. You're going to have wear and tear in your joints, right? So if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay? Motion is lotion. If you don't use it, you lose it. Be efficient standing in gravity. Simple. But it requires a lot of your attentiveness. And if you're not attentive enough to take care of yourself, go get a cat. Every time you see that your cat stretch, that's your cue. You gotta stretch. Right? Yeah, because they do, right? You don't see old cats decrepit like this and go, I got neck pain. I can't. I have an 18-year-old cat.
They stretch a lot.
And she stretches like this, and she jumps over the fence. Yeah, one day she's just gonna calm me. All right. Anyway, going back to the lines here, this is called the deep front line. The deep front line.
When you show it to me, you give it to me.
I'm giving it to you.
How's that feel?
The deep front line actually starts from your temples. It becomes the neck muscles. It becomes your rib muscles. And if you go, imagine if you will, get behind the guts. You go to the front of the spine. You have a lot of muscles in there. Thick muscles, all right? In fact, the one big muscle that attaches to the pelvis that does this That's our version of the filet mignon. That's why it's expensive. There's only two. No fat though. That's why, oh, no fat, nice and no taste. So we shorten the psoas. It's called the psoas. When we sit, it's short. When we stand, it's stretched. So again, now imagine if you're an acrobat in Belarus or something, and you're always stretching every day. You're going to have loose joints, right? There's a video of this 92 or 93, I think she's 93 now, German gymnast, oldest competitive gymnast in the world. And she's doing splits, she's standing on her head, she's doing rolls. It was important to her to maintain that, is my point. So as a result, she has excellent posture and she can move, not normal, I was considered hyper mobile, which is equally bad. But if you maintain it, you maintain it, all right? You get up one day, let's say you wake up tomorrow morning, all right? You haven't moved for 6 hours, you're in the fetal position because you have it nice and cold. So you're like this, you have 6 hours worth of new connective tissue cells growing around your joints that are flexed. So the moment you stand up with gravity, nothing stretches, and you do the little walk like this to the bathroom. That's not aging. My suggestion here is get flat on your back, take away the pillow, stretch this, yawn through there, stretch the leg down, yawn through there, yawn through there. So you're stretching your tissues out. The only problem with that is you're in the anti-gravity, gravity eliminated field. We have to be lined up here, all right? So what are we doing necessarily when we're flat on our back stretching? Or if you take that a step further, these people that do downward dogs, they do yoga for an hour. Think about that. Who came up with that idea, right? My cats don't do that. Stretching for an hour. So if you stretch those lines, you're loose, but your bones aren't organized. Remember, 206 bones. They all have to sit on top of each other perfectly, so when I stand, nothing feels like it's torqued or out of place. So what I do is I stand and do the same thing. Everything kind of rotates and clicks back in place. My first step, no pain. Second step, no pain. So try that. So if you're struggling with that every morning, if you have pain, you're not going to want to do anything with it, all right? That's another thing that's wrong with us humans is we don't really deal with pain correctly. I have 4 dogs. My Pomeranian gets clobbered quite a bit. Does he take 3 days off bed rest? No, he starts to lick that, he starts to stretch, then he's running around. Fixed. We don't. Doctor says, oh, 3 weeks of bed rest, absolutely. Or 3 months back in the day, then you died of pneumonia. Because you didn't move, right? Yeah. If you don't move, a lot of bad things happen. There's a time for your brain to shut off. It doesn't even shut off, but your body, just like an engine block, has to be turned off. In the process of sleeping, you treat your inflammation. You wake up, your engine block's nice and cool, ready to go again. All right? So always think about doing this because every second your nails are growing, your hairs are growing. And if you're training it to be this long and this inefficient, you're gonna have dysfunction. And when you have dysfunction, you're gonna have symptoms. Pain comes to mind, loss of motion, inefficiency of movement. Okay, so this is one of my favorite lines. This is called the lateral line. If you look down here in the middle, it's hollow. This line is obviously left and right. So now we're looking at balance, 50-50. People that have scoliosis, anybody familiar with that term?
Yes.
All right, it's not, your spine's not not straight, it's actually crooked.
Yeah.
Okay, we see this quite a bit with new moms. Or I'm left, I'm right. If I was right-handed dominant, I'd put the child here while I do my chores around the house. Then the child becomes 6 years old, put it down, walk around like this still. You didn't lose that because you kept it, but you did it for years and years. And they come to the clinic, they go, I have pain in my neck. I bet you do. You have pain in your back? They said no. I said, I'll say not yet. You're standing like this.
It's not a genetic form of problem. It's
No, you trained
stance problem to get scoliosis.
You trained yourself to do that.
A young person could have that at 8, 9
There
years
are
old?
2 types of scoliosis. There's a supple. That's something that we create, right? If you're very right-handed and you're doing this all day long with the mouse, right?
Yeah, I thought it was something that was a genetic problem with the person. I didn't know it was something that you acquired from bad posture.
Well, the bones, if they don't develop properly, we're not perfect.
No,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, if you look at your right hand and your left hand, they're actually the same, different sizes.
I know a young woman that had it very early in life, and she went to medical doctors, they could do nothing for her.
Well, because they're doctors.
Well,
It's not their fault,
but
right?
a chiropractor did help her.
Yeah.
Okay, she's very okay, you know, you may be into, but she's a young, now she's a young woman, but she had the scoliosis. How, she didn't
Well-
carry children, she didn't go like this.
Some people actually develop that.
Okay.
Is it the bones? Yes. Is it the muscles? Also, yeah. Number of different factors play into that. But if you develop scoliosis as you get older, you're contributing to that.
That's
Right?
different.
And to test that, you just have the person bend over, you look at their spine, if it straightens out in the bend over position, it's supple, we can fix that. If they bend over and they still look like that, you're gonna have to put metal rods in there, right? So surgery, but not everybody has that.
So Joe, so you would recommend that first thing in the morning, we should do this?
Yeah. Go get it, yeah,
How about, other stretching?
throughout the day. Well, here's the thing that I came into, an epiphany, if you will. We have all these big mats in the clinic and we make all our patients stretch on their backs, right? And they can do the stretches very well. As soon as they stand up, they're back in pain. Why am I in pain? I just stretch for 20 minutes. Gee, I don't know. Then you realize everything has to line up in gravity, so now you have to do this and do this and even do a little torquing. It's like trying to line everything back up in gravity. And the muscle tension will do that for you, all right? So in the end, what you're looking for is normal posture, which is perfect posture. Nothing
So you're saying that we should do our stretching standing up? Like, instead of like.
You start your day with a stretch flat on your back in the gravity eliminated plane, all right? But as soon as you stand up, you have to put awareness in there, awareness of how tall you are. Is my head over my torso? I don't have to hold myself in posture, all right? People that do this, they say stand up straight. What do we think? Military. Well, people have passed out in this position. That's not normal. But if I relax, I just let my body balance in gravity. I can do this for hours. I do it every day. I'm at the clinic. I've been doing physical therapy for 26 years. And that's all I do at the clinic. I dread sitting down and doing this. My back hurts, my neck hurts. So at the end of the day, I have better posture than the person that did this for 8 hours. These people come to the clinic and, you know, if you're in your 40s, they take an x-ray, they'll say, hey, you have arthritis, that's what you have. Well, great, that's not ever gonna go away. So you're saying I'm gonna be like this for the rest of my life? Well, here's some drugs. Get out of my office. That's how we deal with it. All right, so anyway, if you look at this line, you have a left and a right. So if you have 50% tension, you're gonna have normal posture. Now, if I twisted my ankle or my knee and I had to take weight off of that leg, what happens? I have shortened this, I have lengthened this. I'm gonna have 60% length here, 40% length here. Imbalance, all right? So if I stand like this, try to imagine what's going to go bad on me. My knee, my neck, and the way the rest of my body moves, okay? So if you have this posture and you're out there in your backyard digging ditches, you're gonna develop pain, all right? Pain is actually, it's abnormal. Your brain says, hey, there's something going on, pay attention. You're supposed to fix it. But because, again, of our ideas, how do we treat pain? Drugs, we don't move, and we do yoga for an hour, we stretch for an hour. Well, that's another thing, the only problem I have with yoga is they get on their hands and knees, they stretch like cats and dogs. We're not cats and dogs, we're humans. So you have to do human stretches in gravity. Okay, so that's the lateral line. So that's not a muscle, by the way. That's a big flat tendon called your iliotibial band. There's a muscles that attach to it. So if this is tight here because we shorten it, you go to stand up, it's going to either tilt the pelvis or it's going to create torque in the knee. These people come in here, they have that problem at the clinic. We don't treat that. But the classic treatment is, let's do ultrasound on that, give it injections, you know, $6,000 later, you still have pain. I give them 5 minutes of my time, I go, here, I stand up. Oh, it's gone. Yeah, of course it's gone. I treated it. That's the lateral line. Anyway, it's a different concept. It's a game changer when you think that instead of just treating a body part, you treat the whole thing. You treat it from the front, from the back, above it, below it, and everything else around it. Very thorough. Okay. It's unfortunate that we had to think this way because again, we're not moving like we're supposed to. What is normal movement for humans? Go back 60,000 years ago. If you lived in an environment where, you know, you had to interact with the animals, the plants, the terrain, the conditions, you have a pretty good idea of how you would move, and you would move a lot throughout the day. When the sun went down, you didn't have an artificial light source, you went to bed. As soon as the sun came up, you were awake. And you were awake the entire time. You probably took a nap when the conditions were safe, maybe in your cave. So, in summary, what we need to realize is, as humans, we are the same as our ancestors from 40 to 60,000 years ago. Okay? We have to move in order to be efficient as we get older, right? Because if your body becomes dysfunctional, a lot of wear and tear happens. Okay, forget the other diseases. You want to be able to be useful as you get older. I have patients that like to run marathons. They like to lift heavy weights. They do Zumba, and some of them actually like to lift heavy weights. I tell them, you're 65. You shouldn't be lifting that stuff. I herniated this in my back, by the way, in 2015, because I was doing CrossFit. We were picking up 400 pounds off the floor. What's the heaviest thing in my house? Maybe a bag of trash that I'll pick up. I don't need to pick up 400 pounds off the floor, right? So I always say, well, how should I work out? Well, think about this. Be strong enough to be useful. And you need to define what usefulness is. Right? So your idea of useful is sitting down and watching TV 4 hours a day. That's how strong you're going to be. Right? Now, if it's important to you that you have to be able to bench press 300 pounds, then you do that. But that's not normal either. So, movement, postural awareness, awareness of how much you're not moving. All right, and then we can branch off into, well, how is the human body supposed to be fed and rest and all this. So, if you stretch, you lengthen the fascia, the connective tissue, and if you do that every time you think about it, then you're going to be loose throughout the day. All bets are off once you go to sleep and in your fetal position. But the moment you wake up the following day, you reset that. All right? I guarantee you will not shrink. Also, because of the fact that we're creating tightness and we're not really dealing with it the way we're supposed to, it gets to the point where even stretching becomes ineffective. So as a result, you need somebody with skilled hands to work on you to take that connective tissue and lengthen it. All right, so that's part of my maintenance. Is I have a gentleman that is just over the bridge here. I see him once a month. He puts me through pain for an hour and a half. I give him $100. I leave there, I'm like this.
Some of it is painful too.
Oh, it's very painful. He says, you're not going to enjoy this. And go like that.
He's a big guy.
But I get in my car, I look in the rearview mirror, I have to tilt that thing up. I used to tilt it, just because I know I'm taller, right? So the last few sessions, I said, well, how long will this last? Because I'm pretty tall. And I'm pain free, by the way, when I leave there. And it's disgusting to come back to work, like, what are you so happy for? I'm pain free, bitches. Anyway, it takes me about five days before I start to shrink and then it becomes level again. You know, a few weeks later, I start having pain again. 4 weeks later, I'm in pain, have to get worked on, back to zero. So, if you can resist gravity efficiently because you're able to stand your height, your normal height, think of how tall were you when you were in your 20s. If you can maintain that, and you're able to bend efficiently, nothing becomes dominant, and then you don't develop dysfunction. All right, so just awareness, that goes a long way. Be aware, just be aware. All right, what was the last time I did this? Well, was that probably the 10th time I've done that at least today, right? Just this morning. The average person won't do that, by the way. Yeah. So this little thing, even though it's painful right now, over time, next thing you know, now I have the mobility. Then you look at your posture. You look at your posture from here, from this side, from the top down, or from the bottom up. It has to be perfect. Anything outside of perfect, you have problems.
What would be the, what are the good things about yoga?
Stretching. But do we need to stretch for an hour? All right. Here's the problem. You stretch for an hour, you do it twice a week, but you don't stretch the rest of the week. So now you're actually stiffer, despite the fact that you're doing 2 hours worth of yoga a week. These people will say, I already stretched this morning, I don't have to stretch again. My cat will stretch every 15, 20 minutes. Even in her sleep, she'll do this. So you follow that, you're gonna have a lot less pain. But you don't realize that you're not in pain because that's normal. We only tend to pay attention to what's abnormal. Oh, that almost hurt me. Did you do anything about it? Hurts. It's could be arthritis. No, I'll fix it.
Are there any good things about chiropractors?
Okay, there are 206 bones in the human body, none of which can move by themselves. So I laugh at these pirate movies with the skeletons running after you. As a 7-year-old, I looked at it, what's making the bones move? Right, so you go to the chiropractor, he sees that, oh, this bone is sublocks inside the position, let's pop it back in. Give him, pay him his money, you feel great, because it's back in position, right? 2 days later, you're back in pain. Oh, come on in, let's adjust it. This is less than, like, literally a second, because they pop it, right? So you pay him again, you leave, it's back again. Oh, come back in again. So after a while, you realize it's not the bone, something's pulling it out of position. Those 637 muscles are probably doing that. All right, then you look at the posture, you go, well, all right, let's stretch this way, let's stretch that way, so you can get straighter. You stretch, you loosen, and you come back. All right, so now you have to change your approach. Let's take that connective tissue and stretch. You can actually stretch fascia. Just like a piece of plastic, you go like this. Experiment that with the shopping bagels. Stretch it slowly, slowly, slowly. Without tearing it, you let go, it doesn't go back. That's called plasticity. Elasticity is where you max it, right? So your tissues can become elastic if you train it to be just like so. But it can also be very plastic. If you do this, just do one side, all right? Humor me, just do this. Every 15, 20 minutes, do this throughout the day. Don't move your other side. And then compare it at the very end of the day, you're gonna go, Joe was right. Oh yeah. So you are what you do in this sense, right? So this is going to give you problems, and Liz has that. She likes to do this, and now she can't stand up straight. That's not aging. I refuse to look like that. I told my wife, I said, look, I'm going to be the best looking corpse. I'm going to have square shoulders. I'm going to be flat, and I'm not going to have any diseases. If I don't wake up one day dead, just applaud me before you start crying because I did something right. Think about that, right? Heart failure, respiratory failure, kidney failure. These are failures. They give you drugs to keep you alive until you count out. You didn't play the game right. You died because of your failure. If you play it right, that's a success. I want to be successful in life. Yeah. So part of that is this. You know, I have a lot of problem with pain. I had to take a pain pill because I missed my Rolfing sessions now for 2 months in a row. So I'm in pain. But I don't like to take that. It's great, it gets you high. But you want to feel normal. And normal is, first of all, you're not in pain, but you feel so light that gravity is almost non-existent. You feel like you're floating. And that's very surreal. It's a very, very neat feeling to have that. So if you already have existing problems, all right, let's say you have knee surgery or arthritis or this and that, do the best that you can. Even if you do something like this, with limited range of motion, you're still making progress. All right? You're fighting off aging. You're fighting off dysfunction. So motion is lotion. Be strong enough to be useful. Be efficient in gravity. Go get a cat.
Hey, Joe.
All right?
Can you elaborate a bit on headaches? I mean, headaches,
All right.
your brain doesn't hurt.
Okay.
My wife has lots of headaches, and the only way she gets rid of them is pumping pills.
Oh yeah.
Okay, why does she get headaches?
Well, because of you.
Because of you, yeah.
You're the
Any other
headache.
questions?
Yeah, it's not a pain in the
Well, let me
ass.
ask that question. Hold that thought. What is look at your wife's posture. If she looks like this, you shouldn't have any headaches.
She slouches on the sofa.
There you go.
But she
Everybody do this. Do this for a second. Just kind of slouch. Slide your butt out towards the foot. Go ahead and do this. Let's see if you develop a headache.
She wakes up with headaches.
Well, because she's already stiff. There's another thing too. Hold that thought. We invented the pillow. How many baby pillows do you see out in the market?
Right.
Baby pillows. None. Right? For some reason we thought, I think it started with the bed. Let's make something that we can sleep nice and comfortably on. And we said, well, it's too plain. Let's put something in. And I invented the pillow. So you take this perfectly good posture, you shove it forward like this, now you're gonna fall asleep like that.
Televisions in the bedroom.
Televisions in the bedroom. There's a way around that though.
Reading books.
Put them on the ceiling?
There's a way around that. Google Prism glasses, I should have brought those in. Prism glasses are, and I saw this in the movie with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, As Good as It Gets, right? And I saw this scene where he's laying in bed, and he's got these glasses. Basically, it's like a periscope. So he looks through the prism glasses, and he sees the image by his feet. And he's like this. All right, so you can buy that on Amazon. It's like $18. They are heavy because they're made out of glass.
So let's say no pillow.
No.
Do you recommend them?
No. Well, if you're stuck like this and you need to get comfortable, yeah. My patients, once I loosen them up and they're like this, I tell them, don't put a pillow over your
So
head.
you don't sleep with a pillow?
I don't. What I do, look at the gap from the side of my head to my shoulder.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
sideways.
big gap, right?
Yeah.
So if I lay on my side, that's gonna go like that.
Right.
I'm gonna get a kink in my. So, I would imagine in the Stone Age, you probably just did this. All right, maybe roll on our backs, we roll on our stomach. It's okay to do that, but to sleep in one position like this and wake up like that, you're gonna be in pain. You're gonna be in pain for the rest of the day because now you have to move in gravity.
Now, my questions are about gravity and weightlessness. We have our astronauts in the lab up there, they're in constant weightlessness,
Mhm.
which would affect how their posture would be because there's nothing to push against, essentially. You have no friction.
You got it. And you lose the tension. You lose the tension because you don't have gravity. The gravity it becomes exponential when the tension of your muscles become exponential in gravity. So if you want to experiment with this, just float around in the pool and see how light you feel, right? You also lose bone mass.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of things when you're in space. There's a physics rule called Wolff's law that suggests that if you put pressure directly on bone, it reacts by growing and creating more bone.
Yeah, they
This
get
is
the
why-
incidence of osteoporosis.
Yeah, this is why
while they're in
babies, right?
outer space.
There's a condition called spina bifida. You familiar with that?
Yeah, it pops
Right.
out,
Yeah, your
I
spine's
got out of
this.
the army in 1969 because of that.
Okay. These people they really have weak legs, right? So as a result, they don't stand and walk. That person becomes an adult because they're able to put weight on their spine, the spine grows, but the legs don't. Really, really odd looking. All right, this is why you say, oh, I just bought my child's shoes last month, now I gotta buy new shoes. Well, they're growing because they're in gravity, constantly pushing on the bones, stimulating them to create more bone. So we shoot up, 18 years later, you're fully mature, skeletal wise. So babies, when they're born, they don't have kneecaps. They have actually more bones because they haven't fused yet. All babies are flat-footed. All right, you look at babies, feel the kneecap's not there, they don't have an arch. The arch is formed when the child is able to stand. The muscles in the legs start to get stronger because of gravity, and it starts to pull up the arch bones. Now we have an arch.
When do they develop kneecaps?
As soon as they start crawling. So these kids now that do this and they sit, they're not putting weight on their legs.
Right.
So we're gonna have a generation of children that's gonna look like this: forward head, rounded upper back, forward shoulders, knock knees, flat feet. And these people are gonna grow up thinking that it's normal because everybody else around them in their age group is that. Go back to the 1950s. Go back to you watch Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly. Everybody's nice and tall, and right? How do you end up looking like this? All right. That's counter-evolution.
You might want to write a rejoinder in the newspaper today, Stuart News. There's a writer, the vice column, asking, she says, I'm sitting down doing my work in my office all day. My coworker is standing up doing his work.
Mhm.
Which one does better for his, and she advises, keep sitting down. I think you need to write to.
Like,
Oh, right, like places like Facebook, don't have the employees standing up.
Well, Henry Ford had the right idea of the assembly line. All right. First of all, if you stood up, you probably would fall asleep, and you'd be able to move more efficiently because you're using more muscles in gravity. So, 100 years later, you're seeing that, hey, actually sitting is the new smoking. That's a terrible thing to say, but if you Google that, you can have heart disease, increased cholesterol, depression, herniated discs. A lot of bad things happen at 0 miles per hour in this case. Maximum damage at 0 miles per hour, think about that. Because we're supposed to be moving. You know, that's the problem I have with the school system, and I'll get back to your question. You take a perfectly healthy child that's playing and running around, you know, then you make them, they reach school age, sit down for 5 hours. And they say, well, your child's acting up and you're not paying attention. Let's give them Ritalin. That's how we fix that problem, right? But if you just made these kids stand up, make them fidget around while they're standing, they're gonna be more attentive. Yeah, more productive. So, stand-up desks have become very popular. But again, we've developed, there are people that already have established dysfunctions. You know, they don't really know the answer to this. It's not common knowledge of, hey, you need your tissue to be lengthened and fixed. You know, instead of go to the chiropractor to have their bones manipulated, not the tissues. So these people can't stand up. But the people that can stand and are very active, they go to the other extreme where they're walking on treadmills now. And that's okay if you do that for a little while, but you have to stop and, you know, we stop and go, but it's really a constant motion. So, if you, like I said, if you want to experiment with this, just stretch one shoulder over like this, and after a while you realize that my other shoulder that I haven't stretched is painful. It's become more painful because you haven't really had to work on it. But if you imagine if you just didn't move, you would slowly adapt to that and think, yeah, I'm supposed to look and feel like this because I just had another birthday. It doesn't work that way. All right, thank you for your time.
Okay. Joe, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
One last thing, we've got three magazines to give away.